On September 13, 2022, the United States Department of Justice unsealed a federal indictment against Abdikerm Eidleh. 31 counts: wire fraud, money laundering, bribery. We have read the indictment and the Department of Justice's public case record. Eidleh has pleaded not guilty and is presumed innocent unless proven otherwise. What follows is what those records allege. How does a man accused of stealing $5 million from a program built to feed hungry children stay free for 4 years in a country with no extradition treaty? This investigation runs on 4 numbers. Number 1, 2,040 children who never existed. Number 2, $5 million in alleged kickbacks. Number 3, 4 years beyond the reach of American law. Number 4, the operation that finally brought him back. We get to that at the 4-minute mark. In March of 2020, as the COVID-19 pandemic shut down schools across America, the United States Department of Agriculture expanded the federal child nutrition program. Kids who relied on school meals still needed to eat. The government would reimburse organizations that served them. The program worked through sponsors, organizations that monitored meal sites, prepared reimbursement claims, and passed the money through. Feeding Our Future, a Minneapolis nonprofit founded in 2016, was one of those sponsors. In 2019, Feeding Our Future received about $3.4 million in federal funds. By 2021, that number had climbed to nearly $200 million. In less than 2 years, Feeding Our Future sponsored more than 250 meal sites across Minnesota. Those sites claim to have served over 125 million meals. According to the federal indictments in the case, almost none of those meals were real. One site was a restaurant that had brought in $500 to $600 a day before the pandemic. It began billing for 2,000 to 3,000 meals a day, 7 days a week. Investigators later found an attendance roster listing 2,040 children. Only about 20 of those names matched real students in the district. Some rosters were built using a website called listofrandomnames.com. An Excel formula inserted a random age between 7 and 17 into the age column. Feeding Our Future collected more than $18 million in administrative fees for sponsoring these sites. Money prosecutors say it was never entitled to. Abdikerm Eidleh, according to the indictment, was not a bystander. Prosecutors allege he recruited the fraudulent sites and collected the kickbacks in return. The indictment describes a pay-to-play arrangement. Kickbacks disguised as consulting fees, routed through shell companies. Site operators in Wilmar alone allegedly paid him $225,000 for his role as site support manager. Eidleh deposited more than $5 million in fraud proceeds into those shell company accounts, prosecutors say. But the fraud itself was never the most extraordinary part of this story. The most extraordinary part is what happened after the FBI came knocking. On the morning of January 20th, 2022, more than 250 FBI agents, IRS investigators, and postal inspection officers executed 25 search warrants across Minnesota. Abdikerm Eidleh was not at any of those properties. An FBI agent later testified that Eidleh had already left for Africa before the raids began. Investigators reached him once by phone that day. They never heard from him again. Eidleh had gone to Somalia, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States. He was formally indicted in September 2022, months after he disappeared, named as the second figure in the case, behind only the founder and executive director of Feeding Our Future, Amy Bach. Bach did not flee. She stood trial and during 3 days of testimony pointed to Eidleh as the real operator of the scheme. The jury did not accept her defense. She was convicted on all counts. On May 21, 2026, Judge Nancy Brazel sentenced Amy Bach to 500 months, nearly 42 years. This was a fraud vortex, Brazel told her, and you were at the epicenter of it. But Bach was in a courtroom. Eidleh was 4,000 miles away in Mogadishu, beyond the reach of American law, or so he believed. For 4 years, the FBI worked with Somalia's National Intelligence and Security Agency and the Somali police force to locate him. On June 25, 2026, Abdikerm Eidleh was taken into custody in Mogadishu. On July 16, 2026, 3 weeks before this video was made, Eidleh was transferred from Somalia to Minnesota. He appeared in federal court in St. Paul the next day. His capture and transfer back to Minnesota show how far the arm of American law enforcement can reach, said U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen, and that you can run, but you cannot hide. FBI Director Kash Patel called it a historic moment in the Bureau's war on fraud. But Eidleh's capture raises a harder question than how he was found. It raises the question of how he was ever allowed to take the money in the first place. The federal child nutrition program was built for speed, not oversight. During the pandemic, the USDA waived standard verification requirements. Meal sites self-reported their numbers. Sponsors like Feeding Our Future were trusted to monitor their own sites, with no independent cross-checking. The Minnesota Department of Education did try to intervene. In 2020, the department attempted to stop payments to Feeding Our Future. Feeding Our Future sued and won. A state judge ruled the department could not withhold the funds. The payments continued, and the fraud accelerated. The money went into luxury vehicles, real estate, international travel, and coastal resort properties, prosecutors say. To date, roughly 80 people have been charged in connection with the scheme. Nearly 70 have now been convicted, most through guilty pleas. The government has recovered approximately $60 million in seized cash, property, and vehicles. Close to $190 million remains unaccounted for. Here is what should be difficult to sit with. Prosecutors say this fraud was not sophisticated. There was no hacked database, no offshore banking labyrinth. This was a restaurant with a deep fryer, allegedly billing for 3,000 meals a day. This was an Excel formula generating random ages. This was a website called listofrandomnames.com. Feeding Our Future grew from $3 million in revenue to nearly $200 million in 2 years. And for a long time, nobody stopped it. And Abdikerm Eidleh, like every defendant in this case, is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. That is not a footnote. It is the standard the Department of Justice itself must meet in the District of Minnesota. Abdikerm Eidleh now sits in the Sherburne County Jail, awaiting trial on 31 federal charges. More than a dozen additional defendants named across the broader case remain unresolved. Of the $250 million federal prosecutors say was stolen from a program built to feed hungry children, roughly $190 million has never been recovered. Breach will continue following this case.